Brian Kelly took the podium at SEC Media Days on Monday and said something that I think should make you and every other LSU fan very happy and very relieved.
You are Locked On LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, thank you for making Locked On LSU your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Plus, we're also on YouTube as well. So check us out, Locked On LSU on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, like, comment, rate, review, subscribe, all that great stuff. Just appreciate you for being here and always appreciate you for making Locked On LSU your first listen every single day. Well, it's been a crazy busy week so far in Nashville, having SEC Media Days in my city. It has been an absolute blast. We heard from Brian Kelly, from Josh Williams, from Jayden Daniels, from Akai Wingo. They were the very first crew to go at it at SEC Media Days. And last week, I put up a podcast talking about, hey, I know what we're probably going to hear because we kind of know what we're going to hear every single year. There's going to be a good bit of coach speak. There's going to be a whole lot of this and a whole lot of that. But what we don't always get is what we want to hear. And I think I got a little bit of both, to be completely honest with you, because I heard something from Brian Kelly at the podium on Monday that really sparked a light bulb. And it made me feel actually really encouraged and really excited. And I think that it should make you feel really encouraged and excited as well. And it has to do with the quarterback position. Now, this year, we're not talking nearly as much about the quarterback position as we were last year. Because this time last year, the quarterback position, for the most part, was uncertain. We saw some at practice, and we saw the reps being distributed, but really, we didn't know that it was going to be Jayden Daniels. Remember, Brian Kelly tried to keep that under wraps as long as he possibly could. This year, we know who the quarterback is going to be. This year, Brian Kelly ended this past regular season by saying Jayden Daniels is our quarterback, by saying there is not a quarterback competition. And Brian Kelly didn't necessarily walk that back. Jayden Daniels was still a quarterback. But he provided some extra insight that brought me peace, so to speak. This was Brian Kelly at the podium at SEC Media Days on Monday.
Recruiting accent for the 2024 cycle?
I think my accent's pretty good, and it's gotten better, throughout the recruiting process. It depends on where if I'm in northern Louisiana or southern Louisiana, sometimes I get over Lake Charles, it's got to change a little bit. But Jayden's our starter. He'll start, but he'll have to continue to improve and progress because Garrett is getting better every single day as well. So you want to talk about great competition? It's about as good as a head coach could hope for at the quarterback position. So Jayden's the starter, but he's got to have a great camp. He's got to continue to progress. He's got to continue to work. He's got to continue to move forward because the guy right there as well, he wants to take his job in the right way. They've got a great relationship, but he wants his job too. So I think that's a really positive situation.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I absolutely, positively love to hear that because when Brian Kelly said at the end of this past regular season that Jayden Daniels is our starter, there is no quarterback competition, I thought, they're not really opening yourself up to a whole lot of interpretation there, and you're also not really opening yourself up to a whole lot of versatility there. You're not allowing yourself to walk back that statement and make changes as necessary. And my thought was between January, the time when LSU played the Citrus Bowl and Brian Kelly made those comments, and September when you play Florida State, that's a long time. There's a lot of football left to be practiced and a lot of weights to be lifted and a whole lot of progress to be made in those 9 months. You sure you want to put yourself in that position? But hearing Brian Kelly say that, I think LSU puts LSU in a chef's kiss, perfect position. Because Jayden Daniels is the starter, as he should be. Brian Kelly is also opening up the leniency or the gap for Garrett Nussmeier to still be competitive. I don't think that this is a quarterback competition because I view a quarterback competition like it is literally anyone's job. Like I look at Alabama right now, they've got a quarterback competition. Is it going to be Ty Simpson? Is it going to be Jalen Milrow? We do not know. That is a true battle that's going on in camp. It's not a quarterback competition going on at LSU because Brian Kelly is saying Jayden Daniels is a starter, but it's also Jayden Daniels' job to lose. So if at some point, if something goes south, if Jayden Daniels just isn't clicking, if things just aren't clicking, and let me state for the record, I don't expect that to happen at all. I really don't. Because I think that the improvement and the strides that Jayden Daniels made game over game, week over week, month over month this past season, I think it should give all of us optimism for how he should start this season and how he should continue to progress throughout the rest of the season. But I don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. There have been several times when a starting quarterback gets, applauded and we have expectations for those certain quarterbacks and they just fall short of those expectations. So to one have a backup quarterback that can be a starting quarterback at probably damn near any other program in the country. Now, that makes you feel pretty good. And the second part of that is that he is going to continuously be nipping at Jayden Daniels' heels. That while this isn't a true quarterback competition, there's still going to be an element of competition within that room. I watched Man in the Arena. It's that Tom Brady multi-part documentary that came out. And there was one episode about one of the Super Bowl teams, one of those Patriots teams. And they were talking about how they called each other the edgers in the locker room. What made that Patriots team so great is that they, quote, edged each other. That, oh, you came in at 6 o'clock, I came in at 5:30. Oh, you got 2 hours of treatment, I got 2.5 hours of treatment. Oh, you watched 4 hours of film, I watched 5 hours of film. They constantly pushed one another to be better, to work harder, to put in the extra time, to do the extra rep, to watch another hour of film. I think that is what Jayden Daniels and Garrett Nussmeier are doing. That Jayden Daniels shouldn't be comfortable because his job is for the taking. That Garrett Nussmeier can continue to push Jayden Daniels, and that will make Jayden Daniels even better. That Garrett Nussmeier now has the idea planted in his mind of this can be my job at any moment. And I got to prepare like the starter if I want to be the starter. And I think that puts this quarterback position in it's such a good spot. I think it puts this team as a whole in such a good spot because I would be naive to think that kind of mentality exists only at the quarterback position. In my mind, in the positions where there is enough depth to create enough competition, that competition is there. And that competition, that kind of competition, that's a really quality and healthy thing within a locker room. Now, what I want to get into coming up next is how does Jayden Daniels interpret that? How does Garrett Nussmeier interpret that? How does this entire team interpret what Brian Kelly had to say about the quarterback position? We'll get into that coming up next. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high stakes wager for your small business, and you want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. So that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. The radio station that I work for, we are actively hiring. We're looking for somebody to fill a spot. And I said, hey, the best way to find the right person for the jobs, go to LinkedIn Jobs. First of all, it is so easy to create a free job post on LinkedIn Jobs. It's just as easy as you would go to LinkedIn and to just post a regular post. Seriously, it's that easy and it takes almost no time at all. And then you add your job and you add the purple hashtag hiring frame to the LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you are hiring. They've got simple tools like screening questions that make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you would like to interview. I think For me, one of the hardest parts about trying to find someone to add to your team is filtering through the people that don't have quite the right experience or the expertise for the job that you're looking for. And it kind of feels like a waste of time. Well, LinkedIn takes care of that for you. They have the best filtering process to make sure that the right people with the right experience and the right expertise are the ones that are getting in front of you. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn jobs number one in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That is linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Well, thanks again for making Locked In LSU your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Every day is coming up tomorrow on the podcast. We've got more SEC Media Days tea, y'all. It is a full week of some tea of what Brian Kelly, Jayden Daniels had to say at the podium. So we will break all of that down as we get through the rest of the day. But we just broke down the quarterback position, how Brian Kelly said at the podium, hey, it's Jayden Daniels' job, but Garrett's a really good quarterback. So if things aren't going according to plan, then we'll shift our plan. We'll make changes as necessary. And that's the right thing to say. That's the right approach to have. Because do any of us, Brian Kelly included, especially Jayden Daniels, do any of us want to be in a situation where there needs to be a quarterback change in the middle of the season? Absolutely not. Because if you're getting to the point where you need to make a quarterback change in the middle of the season, odds are things aren't going very well. But I think it's the right approach to at least open that up, to give yourself the possibilities. And honestly, to plant that seed in their minds, to plant the seed in the minds of Jayden Daniels and Garrett Nussmeier. Plus, let's not forget, these are probably conversations that have been going on behind closed doors for quite some time now. That Jayden Daniels knows probably more than anyone that his job isn't safe. No quarterback's job is safe, not in this league. This league is too tough and too competitive for you to be able to fall back and just, and rest on what you've done without constantly getting better, without your iron being sharpened by other iron. And Garrett Nussmeier, I think, also understands that while he's not the starter, he's going to do everything in his power to become the starter. And as Brian Kelly said, and I do think that was important to mention, it's not like they're at each other's throats and that this is some sort of unhealthy competition. No, they respect one another. They're friends with one another. But at the end of the day, this is a business. So while it's all healthy competition, Garrett Nussmeier is going to do whatever he can to make his job a reality, to make his dream a reality of being the starting quarterback at LSU. So I think it's planting the idea in Jayden Daniels' head that, hey, man, you got to keep working. You got to keep grinding. It's not, it's what you do week over week. It's not what you did that one week and that's going to be able to skate you through the next 3 or 4 weeks of SEC West play. It doesn't work like that. And also a reminder to Garrett Nussmeier, maybe a reminder that he didn't necessarily really need, that, hey, at any point, this can be your job. Keep working. And if it doesn't become your job, then that means that we're winning games. And that's a good thing. So overall, I didn't want this quote from Brian Kelly, from this piece from his press conference, to be taken out of context or to be overreacted to by saying, "Oh my gosh, there's a quarterback competition. Oh my goodness, Garrett Nussmeier is going to play. Is going to start at some point in the season. It's certain. It's certain. It's not." All he's saying is, "Hey, Jayden Daniels is a starter, but things change." And also, it's not going to be a 2 quarterback system at all. It shouldn't be. Absolutely, it should not be. I do not like that. It doesn't work. It has not worked under Brian Kelly before. I don't think it does work, period. But with all of that being said, I think that they're now stuck in kind of a difficult, sticky position because, at least for me, I want to see Garrett Nussmeier take quality reps this season. But you can't guarantee that. You can't tell Garrett Nussmeier, yep, every game you're going to get at least X number of snaps. You can't say that. You're not going to be in a position to follow through with that every single week. So as much as I'd like to see Garrett Nussmeier beyond just in games that LSU is blowing out opponents, I do want to see him in in quality possessions. I want to see Garrett Nussmeier have to get himself out of a bind. But also, with all of that being said, if we're going to see that, it's probably because Jayden Daniels is either hurt or isn't playing very well. And those are two very bad situations. So it's almost like a catch-22 of like you have two great quarterbacks, and that's a great problem to have. But how do you manage those two quarterbacks? How do you make sure that you're winning enough games and that you're putting your best 22 players out on the field in any given time, while also seeing what you have in your backup, while also counting on the development of Garrett Nussmeier, who's likely going to be your starter next season? It's tough. It's the best problem to have in sports, is having two really good quarterbacks. But it's a conundrum nonetheless. Coming up next, I want to get into something that Jayden Daniels said. And it's not about the quarterback competition, but it's something that he said that I think is going to look really good for recruiting in the future. And we'll get into that coming up next. Well, thanks again for making Locked On LSU your first listen every single day. Like I mentioned, LSU up at the podium on Monday. And there was one thing that Jayden Daniels said. It was at the very beginning of his media availability that really stuck out to me. And I do think that, not being from Louisiana, I am not from Louisiana, that moving to Louisiana to me seemed very overwhelming because it was a place that I didn't know anyone. I didn't know much about at the time when I was, making my college decisions. And obviously, I'm not a 4 or 5-star recruit looking to find the place where I'm going to play college football. That adds a completely different element to it all. But it's still the idea that Louisiana is a much different place than probably anywhere else in the country. And that's why we love it. That's why we love it so much, is because it's ours. It's our culture. It's our food. It's our people. It's the way that we live life. But it might be intimidating for an outsider. But Jayden Daniels said something on Monday that really made me happy and made me think about recruiting. This was Jayden Daniels.
Jayden, just kind of talk about your transition of your college career, starting out playing at Arizona State, now at LSU, just kind of the culture, the fan base, everything that LSU exemplifies, and kind of what that transition's been like for you and what makes LSU so special to you now.
LSU is special to me. Like you said, the fan base and everything. Just to stay in Louisiana, they took me as one of their own. I kind of feel like I'm from Louisiana now in a way, even though I'm from California. I'm from the West Coast. Like I said, they took me in as their own, treated me, respected me, and just the transition coming from the Arizona State to LSU is night and day. Just what the fans exemplify, the energy that they bring each and every week to our games, and how much they care about us and care about LSU football is second to none.
And here's why I think that's important. I think it's a message to recruits, and I think it's a message to players in the transfer portal that, look, hey, you don't need to be from the state of Louisiana, nor do you need to be from a surrounding area like maybe Houston or Mississippi or Alabama or even Florida. That you don't have to be from those places in order to, one, be happy at LSU, and two, to be successful at LSU. Like Jayden Daniels is saying, look, I'm from California. It doesn't get much further away from Baton Rouge, Louisiana than where Jayden Daniels is from in California. But he felt so embraced. He's part of the family. He felt loved. He loves Louisiana. So I think that's a positive message and a positive sign to any player, that you don't need to be from around here. Like the things that he's saying, the ways that he's feeling, it's exactly the way that I felt when I came to Louisiana. I feel like I'm being embraced. I feel like this is a family that I am now part of. And I think that's really important whenever you're talking to 16, 17, 18-year-old recruits from all across the country. And we've seen that while in-state recruiting is priority number one of this program, it has been for a long time, and it should be, because there's not much more talent concentrated in a single state, in a single area, than there is in Louisiana and South Louisiana. But you're also going to have to find talent elsewhere. We've seen that with Brian Kelly's most recent recruiting class, that you got some of the top talent in the state, but in the 2023 class, You've got kids from Ohio. You've got kids from Maryland. You've got kids from California. You're plucking kids from all across the country. Because while Louisiana is going to be your number one priority, there's 4s and 5 stars that can help you win from coast to coast outside of Louisiana or outside of that southeastern recruiting area of Texas, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, so on and so forth. So I think it's a positive message that you can be from California. You can be Joe Burrow and be from Ohio and come to LSU and be embraced and be loved and be successful. You can win a Heisman. You can win a national championship. You can win a whole lot of games. And I think that message is important to build from the inside out. That's what this team wants to do after all. Build from the inside out. And I don't really know, in this era of NIL, where in the pecking order proximity to home is in the average recruit's list of priorities. Because maybe pre-NIL, that may have been the number one thing. Maybe for some recruits, the number one thing is and always has been, hey, just get me to the NFL. Now in the NIL era, there's going to be a ton of kids that say, hey, like, I'm just going to go wherever I can get the most NIL money. And more power to them. I have no problem with that. But I think that proximity to home, or at least a feeling of home, it is important and it should be important. And it might vary from player to player of, hey, look, I just want to be happy. Like, I want to be in a place that feels like home. Like, I remember Brian Smith, our official Locked On recruiting insider, he was chatting with one of the top recruits in the state of Florida. And Brian Smith asked him, hey, what are you looking for when your ultimate place, your ultimate college decision? He said, I don't need to be at home, but I want to feel comfortable. I want to be in a place where I can spend 3 to 4 years here. It's important. And hearing Jayden Daniels, who now is the second highest Heisman odds going into this season, where all eyes are going to be on Jayden Daniels this season, hearing him say that, hey, look, I'm from California and I got that experience at LSU, it's something that I hope that recruits from all across the country are listening to. That, hey, LSU can be your home. That's going to do it for me today. Thank you for making Locked On LSU your first listen every single day. Coming up on tomorrow's podcast for all of our everydayers, Brian Kelly kind of doubled down on some comments that he made with Blake Topmeyer with USA Today on what the expectations are and should be for this LSU football team. How do we feel about it? We'll get into that on tomorrow's episode of Locked On LSU.